So Bob, what happens when just nations, just lockstep, start dropping the dollar? I mean, are we going to see wheelbarrow money? Are we going to see a restructuring of our currencies? Is this the birth of the Amero or whatever they want to call it? Is this the birth of the North American Union?
Well, I think they've got too much trouble to try to implement a North American Union at this time. I don't think they'll go to an Amero at this time either. It just doesn't figure. What they would do is devalue the dollar, and I think if they did that, everybody else would devalue at the same time, because everybody else has got the same problems. I mean, they've all been, and we're talking the G20s especially, they've all been doing the same thing the Fed has been doing to varying degrees, increasing money supply and monetizing England, even Switzerland, and the European Central Bank. They're all doing it. And so I think with a devaluation, it would be simultaneous, and I believe that they would figure out a default system and try to do away with the problem that they've got. But in the process of doing that, I would think that they would continue to hold the dollar and then go to a international currency. I think it's too difficult for them to try to go directly from all currencies to one currency or even three currencies, and they would have to have gold backing or some kind of a commodity backing and probably a gold backing, because nobody's going to accept it. They're going to barter, whether it's goods or whether it's gold for something else or whatever. And, if you look at what went on last week at the Bilderberger meeting, they said it's getting out of control. We got to bring this thing to a halt, or we're going to lose control completely. Well, I got news for them. They already lost control completely. We're only a step away from getting that legislation 1207 passed in the House of Representatives to audit the Fed, the first move, and that audit would be completed next year. And also, there's a companion bill to do away with the Fed. And as soon as the people found out what they were doing, which would happen during next year, they'd say, no, we don't want that anymore. We want the Treasury to handle it. At least there's transparency. And that's where I think that's headed. But as far as currencies are concerned, it's a hard one to call, but my guess is that it would be an international effort and everybody would do it together. And I think that the U.S. might do a 1 for 10, one new dollar for 10 old ones. And that's what I see coming.
Well, that alone will really hurt this economy in ways that are unimaginable. Let's jump to the phone lines. Laura in Michigan, you're on the air.
Hi, Jason and Bob. This is Laura from Michigan. I wanted to talk to you just a little bit about how these things are encroaching upon our freedoms, and it's quite systematic. However, I see a great positive that a tipping point is going to come in the awareness of the American people. We see the Tea Parties rising in response to pretty much aggressive economic action. And we really do see the surveillance state rising and seeking to encroach upon our freedoms there. And they're building
let me just stop you. I really feel like the Tea Parties themselves were totally and completely co-opted by the mainstream media, and especially Fox News with their Glenn Beck worship and their Sean Hannity worship. And I went to them this year, and although there were more people there, and there were some people that were into the real issues, there were other people, the majority of people, there to worship Glenn Beck, deny FEMA camps, and not see the bigger picture and say, Obama's bringing in socialism, Obama's bringing in socialism. Obama's not bringing in anything but an elitist agenda. This guy is a puppet that reads a teleprompter, and he's a good orator, he's a good mind, don't get me wrong. He's a great think tanker, but he doesn't set the policy. He reads off a script. Continue.
I agree with you, Jason. I think you're right on, and I think it's a beginning of awareness, but it is literally the people stepping up to the plate saying, we're not going to take this anymore. And so to see that kind of activity as the surveillance state, then they see the surveillance state beginning to encroach upon them, and this infrastructure, the DHS is literally, and NSA, FEMA, they're literally building the infrastructure of a police state. If we took the control grid of what they're building and we compared it to China or North Vietnam, it is the same grid. They are the same power structures. They're a little bit beyond our perception. They have not surfaced completely. But I believe that they are going to obviously continue encroaching, and they're going to reach a tipping point.
Well, Laura, today was a big day. Let me say that. I mean, if they pass the Cyberbullying Act or the Cybersecurity Act, and I thank you for the call, maybe that will be the tipping point. But I think that this announcement, this speech, which we're finalizing right now, and we're going to play in the next hour along with this Alex Jones clip coming up, and we're going to analyze what Obama had to say. I mean, this should be the tipping point. They're announcing a smart grid. They're announcing that your digital records are going to, your medical records are going to be digitized and databased. They are announcing Internet 2.0. They're announcing a cybersecurity coordinator. They're announcing that they're going after, quote unquote, hacktivists and people who are anti-technology. I mean, this is it, Bob.
Absolutely. This is it. This is the move, the beginning of the brown shirt type, which is from the 1930s, which today, unfortunately, is local law enforcement that's being co-opted into a federalization process. Mm-hmm. And I have a letter to myself that came by email this week from someone who was applying for police work, and he was in a room, and in the next room there were three people, two of whom were from Homeland Security, who were discussing with the chief of police in that particular city, and I don't even know what city it was, that the police forces should be federalized. And so this is aggressively going out there. And so we're going to have that sort of thing running around. We're going to have the Obama version of Hitler-Jünger running around, and we're going to be beset by tremendous propaganda. And so this is the path they're taking. And, of course, as you said, people like you and I are going to be taken off the airways if they can possibly do that.
Yeah, and that's really what it seems like they're gunning for. Let's go to Bill in Connecticut. Bill, you're on the line.
Hey, guys. Hey, Don. All
right.
Hey, in any case, sitting here listening to this thing on CNBC. Hey, I thought it was very interesting when Obama announced that earlier today, because, he sits there and says, I look at things two-sided. He sits there and he says, he said literally that we are not issuing a dictatorship. Well, it's like, yes, you are. And when he's talking about the cybersecurity thing.
Yeah.
Okay? And no, we're not going to be spying on you. We're not going to be, usurping your First Amendment rights. And I'm going, he's saying, no, we aren't. But on the other hand, it's like, yes, we are.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, when he says that they're not going to be, it's absolute doublespeak. Listen, he gives out the whole agenda, and then at the very end, let me be clear about what we're not doing. We're not going to be spying on the American people. Meanwhile, I play the clip that this has already been embedded before his administration. What was it? It's the AT&T case. Hepting versus AT&T. We play the clip where they already have the secret room, where they're already databasing 99.9% of your communications through AT&T, whether you use them as a service or not. This is just one small incident, one small case, and the media doesn't even touch it. And like I said, the cybersecurity chief, because they had a precursor to this organization that they're now restructuring to take even more control away from the American people and the private sector, he resigned because of concerns about, civil liberty groups and opposing giving control to the U.S. spying agencies. I mean, privacy issues. And this is off of MSNBC.com. This isn't going to be in any headlines. This is in the back of the paper, if that, and it's in one obscure article off of MSNBC.com. Where is the fair and accurate press that the government portrays? Oh, the liberal media. Oh, the conservative media. It's all WWE politics, and it makes me sick.
It's disgusting. Yep. Hey, I just want to ask you one other thing. I sent you guys an article to Rob D. That was in this last week's issue of The Economist. It was pretty interesting. It was pertaining to the fact that the Saudis and the Chinese, what they're doing is they're out there buying up all the farmland or buying up land, across the world with the intent of sitting there saying that they're going to do it for farming purposes. But what I thought was very interesting was one of the groups that was in there was the Bin Laden group. I thought that was interesting.
Well, I have to check it out. I don't really know about that. Have you heard about that, Bob? And I thank you for the call.
No, I haven't heard about that, but it's natural. The Bin Laden group has been partners with the Bushes for many, many years, and they finance some of their companies in Texas as well. And that's why Osmo was chosen by the CIA as one of their chief operatives back in the 70s. I was writing about him in the early 80s, and nobody knew about him until